Oliver was attacked in his flat and taken to the hospital. There are 4 suspects, all of them Oliver's neighbors. Wow, I'd find another apartment. Amelia said she'd been walking in the park since early morning. Henry explained he had been painting in his studio and had heard nothing. Jacob said he had been repairing his car. Sophia answered she'd been taking a bath for the past 3 hours. Look at these people's hands and try to figure out who's lying. It's a bit strange that Jacob, who was repairing his car, and Henry, who was painting, both have such clean hands. But they could be wearing gloves. On the other hand, Sophia's hands and fingers don't have wrinkles. But it would be a natural skin reaction after 3 hours in a bathtub. Sophia, you've been caught smooth-handed. The police found out there was a new smuggler in town. 3 people were under suspicion: Luna, a school bus driver, Jackson, a fire truck driver, and Daniel, an ambulance driver. All of them claimed to have been busy with their work since the very morning. Can you figure out who's the smuggler? Look at the car Daniel drives. On such vehicles, the word ambulance is normally written backward. It's done so that other drivers can instantly read the inverted word in their rearview mirrors. Well, it seems Daniel has given himself away. It was the day when Jacob was supposed to be discharged from the hospital. He had spent a couple of months there and underwent several surgeries. His doctor told him he was going to be fine. It was safe for Jacob to leave the hospital. But the guy didn't believe these promises. In low spirits, he walked home. On the way, he accidentally bumps into an elderly lady. She gets furious and started to shout at Jacob. But instead of arguing back, he hugged the woman and ran home. Why? Jacob had hearing loss. He didn't believe his problem could be helped. But when he heard the woman shouting at him, he realized the doctor had told him the truth. Maybe the doctor should have shouted. Chloe stayed late at the office that day. When she was driving home, the woman was worn out. At one moment, she even started to doze off. That's when it happened. She spun off the road and crashed through the fence that was on her way. She couldn't control the car anymore. It slipped down a steep hill and ended up in a lake. Chloe couldn't move her arms. They were stuck. She couldn't undo her seatbelt or open the door. The car sank to the bottom of the lake. Was Chloe doomed? Rescuers arrived 3 hours later. The woman was still in the car, but she was alive. How did she survive? After the car hit the bottom of the lake, the water only came up to Chloe's throat. It was a very shallow lake. Good thing, huh? It was Jack's birthday, and the fellow got a present he had been dreaming about for ages – a motorbike. The next morning, he rode his bike to college and left it at the parking lot. During lunchtime, Jack decided to check on his motorbike. Imagine his horror when he found out someone had broken the mirrors. The security guard told Jack only 3 other people had left his building in the afternoon. They were Owen and Sam, 2 best friends, and Layla, the girl who once liked Jack but got turned down by him. Owen said he and Sam had gone to the campus cafe to get sandwiches for lunch. But Layla told Jack her mother had visited her and they had spent 2 hours together. So, who's lying? Owen has a paper bag with food delivery written on it. It means the guys ordered their lunch, not bought it in the cafe. They broke Jack's mirrors and tried to frame Layla. Not a good reflection on them, huh? Detective Taylor was chasing a dangerous criminal. Suddenly, the man entered a hospital. Oh no, there are hundreds of rooms there. Luckily, it was raining and the criminal left footprints on the hospital floor. The detective followed them and got into a small room. There were 3 people there, all covered in bandages from head to toe. But one of them was a fake patient. Who? It was the dude in the middle. He didn't even have a medical chart next to his bed. Very quick job on the bandages, though. The CEO of a large company called the police. He was sure that one of his employees, Victoria, had stolen a memory card with secret information. She was going to sell it to their competitors. The police arrived at Victoria's house, but the woman didn't let them in without a warrant. The officers had to leave to get all the necessary papers. By the time they were back, Victoria had already been sitting in her car, ready to drive off. The police officers arrested the woman. They searched her car and clothes, but found nothing. And then, when they were about to give up, one of the detectives realized where Victoria kept the memory card. Can you figure it out? When the police first came to her, the woman had her hair down. But after that, Victoria changed her hairstyle. The memory card is in her bun. Yep, Victoria and her sticky bun. Michael was going home from the gym when everything went black. When he regained consciousness, he found out he was in a locked room. Next to the door, there was a computer with a keyboard. On the screen, there was a riddle. Michael had to write the correct answer and the door would open. The riddle went like this. It makes 2 people out of 1. What is it? Michael typed the needed word and the door opened. He was free to go. What was the answer? It's a mirror. Oh, I was guessing a buzzsaw, but this one is better, and not as messy. 2 best friends, Emily and Luna, came to a popular and expensive hair salon. At first, the administrator told the girls they had just one available hairstylist. But after making a phone call, she happily announced she had found another hairdresser. Emily and Luna could have their hair done at the same time. But in the process, it dawned on the girls that one of the hairstylists was fake. Which one? Both hairstylists are using regular scissors, but instead of hairspray, the one on the left is holding a can of bug spray. Yeah, that's a big clue right there. A man on a bike grabbed Sarah's bag with all her documents, money, and smartphone and sped off. The only way the girl can get her bag back is by taking someone's car and driving after the criminal. There are 3 vehicles parked nearby. Which one can Sarah break into and drive off? Borrow. A man is sitting in the blue car. That's no good. If she decides to take the red car, CCTV will spot her. Her only option is the brown vehicle. Oh, and Sarah, don't forget to return the wheels when you get your bag back, otherwise you'll be Grand Theft Sarah. Mary and her younger brother Alex were mushroom hunting in the forest. Wait, mushroom hunting? What do? Sneak up on them so they don't escape? Anyway, they started a quarrel. Alex got angry and ran away. After several minutes, Mary rushed after him. She was still fuming, but also worried. Soon, the girl reached a small river. A man was sitting on the shore. Did you see a teenager here?" Mary asked. "Yep, he's just taken a boat and made it to the other side." But Mary didn't believe the man. Why? The boat is indeed on the other side, but the paddles are lying next to the man. How could the boy cross the river without them? So, where's Alex? Kidnapped by the escaped mushrooms? We may never know. Ella came to a party that took place, and so what was the code? Ella counted the petals on each flower. The code was 5748. Carter was visiting his friend Mateo, who lived in another city. Mateo loved riddles. In the evening, he challenged Carter to get the key to the guest room where the guy was supposed to be sleeping. Mateo dropped the key in the bucket filled with cold water and told Carter to get it. But he couldn't touch the water or use anything to pull the key out. That night, Carter slept in the guest room. How did he get the key? He put the bucket over a fire. The water started to boil and soon evaporated. After that, Carter picked the key up. Mateo was steamed. Nora was an insurance agent. Once, her client called her early in the morning. The woman was in tears. At night, someone had broken into her house. By the time the woman had enough courage to go downstairs, the thief had already taken all the valuables. When she looked out of the window, the man was running away. "Do you remember what he looked like?" Nora asked. The client answered, "It was still dark outside. I understood it was a man, tall and thin. He had dark hair and was wearing a V-neck t-shirt." Nora immediately realized her client had staged the burglary. How did she figure it out? It was dark, and the man was running away from the client's house. Then how could the woman see he was wearing a V-neck t-shirt? Beats me. A punctured tire. A man was driving his car all the way from New York to Boston. Only at the end of the trip did he discover that one of his car's tires had been punctured from the very beginning. Still, he managed to reach his destination successfully, and his journey wasn't affected by this problem. How is it possible? The punctured tire was the spare one. A tricky ploy. A big company director returned from lunch and discovered that his safe had been broken into and all the money had been taken from it. Inside, he saw a note, "Don't even consider calling the police." Well, the man did exactly the opposite. He called the police and told them he suspected that his half-brother David was to blame. One of the police officers visited David and asked him several questions, but the man showed the detective his right arm, which was in a cast. "Look, I broke my arm just a couple of days ago. I couldn't get into my brother's office or write a note." The police officer had nothing to do but leave. He decided to have lunch in a cafe across the road from David's apartment. Half an hour later, the detective noticed the man leaving home. At that very moment, the detective realized that the brother was guilty after all and rushed to arrest him. How did he understand? The police officer noticed that while leaving the cute new guy, Tom joined Katie's class. All her classmates had a crush on him, and he clearly knew about his popularity. But whatever they did, Tom didn't pay attention to any of their signs of affection, and his eyes were only for Katie. She also liked him a lot, but she wanted to make sure he wasn't just cute but smart too. So once, when they stayed alone in the classroom, Katie walked up to the whiteboard, took the marker, and wrote 128 square root sign E 980. Tom looked at it for a few seconds and then smiled, and Katie knew he cracked her riddle. Can you? Mathematically, this riddle doesn't make any sense, but if you wipe the upper half of the whole expression, you'll get "I love you." Takes a bit of wit, huh? A fired manager. Mark, Jim, and Bob work as managers in the same office. One day, one of them is fired, and one gets a promotion. The remaining manager wants to resign at first, but then changes his mind. You know that the one who's fired is older than the rest and single. Jim's younger than the manager who has decided to stay at work, and he doesn't know Bob's wife. Who's fired? It's not Jim because he's younger than the manager who stays. It's also not Bob because he's married. It means that Mark has been fired, Jim has got a promotion, and Bob has decided to stay in his position. An antique dealer's riddle. David was a famous antique dealer in his town, but there were loads of people who envied him. The man had a young, beautiful daughter, Lisa. One evening, when the antiquarian was busy in his workshop, his phone rang. A man told him that they had David's daughter. If he wanted to see her again, he had to give his jewelry collection to a man waiting at the doors. It wasn't the first time someone was threatening David. That's why he requested to talk to his daughter. He asked her just one question. "I have 2 hands, but I can't scratch myself. What am I?" When David heard no answer, he said, "It's not my daughter," and hung up. What's the answer to this riddle? Lisa would know that her father was talking about a clock. A driver's problem. A man was driving along a countryside road when one of his car tires burst. While changing it, he accidentally lost all 4 wheel nuts. The road was deserted, and the driver was afraid he'd have to spend many hours waiting for someone who could give him a hand. But a kid passing by his vehicle said something that helped the man solve his problem. What advice did the child give the driver? The kid told the man to remove 1 nut from each of the remaining wheels and use them to secure the new tire. This way, the man could get to the nearest service station. Notorious shoplifters. Detectives had been trying to catch 2 infamous shoplifters for several years, and finally, after another case, they managed to capture one of the culprits. Police officers were interrogating him for 2 days, but he said nothing about the goods and money they'd taken or his accomplices' whereabouts. Still, in the next 24 hours, the detectives managed to find the place where the stuff was hidden. It was a small house in the suburbs. In its basement, there was a man who seemed very excited. Simultaneously dropped 2 coins into the buckets. Which coin will reach the bottom faster? The coin thrown into the warm water. The other won't sink at all because the water in the bucket is frozen. Let it go. Important documents. John, the director of a big company, managed to persuade his partners to sign a super important agreement. He then put this document into a folder and left it on the table in his private office. When he returned to work the next morning, the folder was gone. Surprise, surprise. John gathered all the employees who were in the office at that time and questioned them. The cleaning lady said she had been busy washing the floor and hadn't paid attention to anything around. The designer explained he hadn't left his working place even once. What's more, being an artist, he didn't have any interest in agreement documents. The accountant admitted that he had entered John's office to have some documents signed, but once he noticed there was no one inside, he immediately left. Who took the folder with the agreement? It was the designer. Otherwise, how would he know that the missing folder had an agreement inside? Socks puzzle. Matthew wears either only black or only white socks. One evening, he's in a hurry, getting ready for a romantic dinner with his girlfriend. Suddenly, the power goes out. The guy has 10 white and 10 black socks in his drawer, but all of them are mixed. If it's completely dark in the room and Matthew can't see anything, how many socks must he pull out of the drawer to get 2 matching ones? Just 3. In a set of 3 socks, he's bound to have 2 socks of the same color. A smart teacher. One day, a teacher decided to give her students a test, but all of them refused to take it. She could give detention for skipping the test to only one student. All of them knew each other's names. If a student knew they were going to get detention, they agreed to take the test. How could the teacher make all the students participate? She told them that she'd give detention to the student whose name came first alphabetically. Then this person wouldn't skip the test. The next person on the list wouldn't skip as well, and so on until the end of the list. Hidden treasure. Martha really loved her little sister Mary, but once she had to go away for the whole day. She didn't want Mary to miss her too much or get bored. That's why she organized a treasure hunt for the girl. Before Martha left, she gave her little sister a map. She told the girl if she followed the instructions, she'd find a real treasure. Mary followed the map to a T. She made the exact number of steps and turned at all the right spots. She eventually got to the end and started digging. The little girl dug and dug, but still found nothing. Naturally, she was pretty upset. When Martha got back, she took the map and almost immediately found the treasure. How so? Martha made one major mistake when she was drawing the map. Her steps were a lot bigger than Mary's. That's why the younger girl couldn't find the spot where Martha had hidden the treasure. What happened to Prom King? Soon after Bob became king on prom night, he vanished. Poof, like that. His teachers were looking for him everywhere. The rival Joe said he had been dancing all night with his girlfriend and hadn't seen Bob. Bob's classmate, Dennis, claimed he hadn't been feeling well, so he spent all night in the lounge. Laura, Bob's secret admirer, said she had been counting the votes for the election. The teachers knew who was behind the disappearance right away. It was Laura. Bob had already become prom king. She didn't need to count the votes. Sam's birthday. Sam is a truly special young lady. She was just 17 the day before yesterday. Next year, she'll be 20 already. What's her secret? Sam's not a time traveler or anything. She was born on December 31st. So if today is January 1st, it's correct to say that she was 17 the day before yesterday. She turned 18 the next day. She'll be 19 on the last day of this year, and next year, she'll be 20. Sam invited his friends to dinner to show them the engagement ring he bought for his girlfriend. They sat down, and he placed the ring on the table. Suddenly, the lights flickered off and the room went dark. When the lights came back on, the ring was missing. He called the manager, and they interviewed his friends. Julie said she hadn't even gotten the chance to see the ring before the room went dark. Roger said he saw the ring's sparkly reflection as the lights went out, but nothing else. Michael said he was searching for his phone to snap a photo of the ring. The manager took a good look at everyone and knew who did it. You have 10 seconds to figure it out. It was Julie. When they sat down, she wasn't wearing gloves. Now she is. Liam's parents are police officers. They were working on a dangerous case and asked Liam to keep it a secret. After a week, he received a message from his mom telling him, "Son, we're okay. Don't contact anyone. We've sent you $5,317. Liam thought the message was suspicious. He checked his bank account, but he hadn't received any money. He immediately called the chief of police. Why? Here are your 9 seconds. If you flip the number 5317 upside down and horizontally, it reads lies. His parents are in danger, and they're communicating with him in code. While walking down the street, Susie found $10. 3 people were sitting on the roadside, and it was clear they needed some money. So she decided to help one of them. Kyle said, "I need some money for shelter tonight. If you have something to spare, it will help me a lot." Jim said, "You're a good girl. I don't have anything, and I don't know what you look like because I'm blind. But $10 will buy me enough food for today and tomorrow." Susan said, "I need money to feed my dog. He is at home and he's starving." Susan knew exactly who really needed help. You've got 8 seconds. She helped Kyle. Jim must have seen the $10, which is why he asked for the exact amount, even though he said he was blind. And Susan doesn't appear to be in much need since she has a place to stay. Mike is an undercover police officer. He had been following a suspect at the train station when the suspect exchanged a briefcase with another person. Michael followed the suspect further. The target walked into a huge corporate building. It was filled with security guards, and Mike couldn't get in. He saw through a window that the target went to the 10th floor. When Mike went back to his car, he found 3 uniforms in his truck: an electrician's uniform, a police officer's uniform, a window cleaner's uniform. You've got 7 seconds to pick one for Mike. The electrician would need to show some ID, so Mike would be outed as an imposter. The police officer would need to show some ID too, and that would ruin his undercover status. But the window cleaner doesn't have to go inside the building. He can climb up the window and pretend to clean them. Sarah called Detective Archie at midday on Monday to tell him she found her husband unconscious on the floor. She had been out shopping all morning, but when she visited her husband's home office to ask if he was hungry, he was lying on the ground. The ambulance came and collected her husband, but the detective didn't let anyone else leave. There were 3 other people in the house. The cook said, "I've been cooking all day. The couple is having a dinner party tonight and I'm swamped." The security guard said, "I was installing security cameras to make sure everything will be safe tonight." The house cleaner said, "I've been cleaning the living room, the sitting area, and all guest bathrooms to prepare for tonight, since everyone will be indoors." Who is lying? Here are your 6 seconds. It's the security guard. The cameras he's installing are outside. The house cleaner said this was an indoor party. One Friday afternoon, Shane, the CEO of a huge company, called the police to report a crime. The CEO said, "They broke into my office and smashed all my furniture. Then they hijacked the door and now it won't close. When they hijacked the safe, they took all my documents. I have only one key to the safe and nobody else has access to it." The detective immediately took Shane to the police station as the main suspect. Why? Here are your 5 seconds. If someone hijacked the safe, it wouldn't close, just like the door. But Shane was able to open and close his safe with his key. Michael is a private investigator and was going on a cruise to Norway. One morning, the captain came to his cabin needing help. The captain said he was studying some old 100-year-old maps and fell asleep on the bridge. When he awoke, his valuable watch was gone. Michael called in the last 3 people who were on the bridge that evening to interview them. The sailor said he was trying to uncover the lifeboats because there's a cyclone in Norway. The passengers might need to abandon ship. The cook said he was taking inventory to see what supplies he needed from Norway. The chief engineer said he was headed to the engine room with 2 other sailors because one of the engines had a problem. Michael knew exactly who was lying. You've got 4 seconds. It was the sailor. None of the lifeboats are uncovered, and if there's a cyclone, putting people on lifeboats in stormy seas would be more dangerous than staying aboard. Sally went to Hawaii for 6 weeks for her summer vacation. When she returned, her mansion was trashed and her dog was missing. She called the police and they started their investigation. Detective Michael noticed there were no signs of a break-in and there was fresh fruit on the table. He interviewed 3 people. Sally's son said, "I never visit my mom's house. I'm allergic to her dog." The maid said, "I came here a week ago, cleaned the house, fed the dog, brought some food, and then I left." The butler said, "I was on vacation at the same time as Sally. I came back yesterday. Here are my tickets." Michael figured out who was lying in 3 seconds. It's the butler. Even though the dates match, the tickets show 2019, not 2020. Lisa went to the movie theater on Halloween night with her husband. He was running late, so she sat down and waited for him. When the lights turned off, two people arrived and sat beside her. The one on the left had red spots on his shirt. He held a bag with red splatters that contained something very suspicious, and he had scratches all over his face. The one on the right had pale skin, bright red eyes, and he was holding a creepy doll. Lisa needs to go to the bathroom, and one of these people is her husband. Should she go right or left? Here are your 3 seconds. She should go left. Since it's Halloween and both people are wearing creepy costumes, look at their fingers. The guy on the left has a wedding ring like Lisa. It's her husband. The guy on the right holds a creepy doll that seems to be alive. Lucy is hosting a career guidance conference to inspire young students to pursue their dreams. She invited one person from each profession. When the conference ended, Lucy discovered the most expensive painting in the meeting room was gone. She called the police, and they searched the briefcases of the last 3 professionals to leave the room. The electrical engineer has a bag filled with wires, circuit boards, small screwdrivers, and solder. The plumber has a wrench, a hammer, and some plastic pipes. The veterinarian has a laser, a hammer, a drill, a fluorescent light, and a pair of latex gloves. Which of the 3 is dishonest? You've got 2 seconds. The veterinarian. Most of the things in his bag aren't related to his profession, and he used the gloves to avoid leaving any fingerprints. Dun, 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 dun. Bob went scuba diving for his birthday. He got to see the rich marine life of Florida's ocean, but when he was down there, he hit his head on a coral reef. Now, it turned out that Bob was fine, except for the fact that he had lost a bit of his short-term memory. When he arrived home, there were 3 beautiful women waiting for him. Hey, it was his birthday. They all claimed that they were his wife. Well, take a look at the image. Can you help Bob figure out who is really his wife? It's the second woman on the right. If you look closely, you'll see she's wearing the same gold ring that Bob's wearing. Henry is the CEO of his own company. Have a look at the picture. One of these ladies is Henry's sister. Can you figure out who? Although he's looking at the woman on the right, his sister is on the left. They both have the same birthmark on their necks. Good eye if you caught that. There was a recent break-in at Mr. Frank's grocery store. Luckily, the security cameras captured everything. Mr. Frank called in Detective Harper to crack the case. Harper noticed one small but very important detail that solved the mystery. Take a peek at the images Detective Harper reviewed. Can you figure out who the thief is? Let's see. That guy is just carrying around a baguette. The one near the fridge has normal groceries in her cart. And the last guy is holding a lettuce in his hands. But hey, take a look at the lettuce. It has such a weird shape. In fact, it has a banana inside of it. That guy was trying to sneak out with a banana and a lettuce. He's the thief, definitely. And a weird one. It's finals week at Crestwood Academy, and the tension is sky high. Check out the classroom and see if you can figure out who is cheating. It's the student with the smartwatch. He's looking at his watch to get the answers to the exam. Mrs. Bells has 3 sons. She is the best cook in the family, and she loves to make her family amazing dinners. Her sons love her, but say she keeps giving the best food to her favorite son. Examine the image carefully. Can you figure out who is her favorite son? It's the one in the middle. While all the other boys have a food plate in front of them, the little guy in the middle is already eating dessert. She gave him the best first. Bibi, Jenna, Miriam, and Jackie were called to the CEO's office for a meeting. It started to rain just before the meeting, and one of the ladies got in at the last minute. Their shoes got wet, and they stained the boss's carpet. Take a look at the image. Can you figure out who stained his carpet? It was Miriam, the third lady in the middle. She's the one wearing high-heeled shoes, and if you look closely, that's the shape that matches the footprints. It was Paula's wedding, and everyone was beyond excited. One of the bridesmaids just caught the bouquet and was happily talking to the other ladies about it. Take a look at the image. Can you figure out which one of them caught it? It's the lady on the left. If you notice, she's surrounded by bees, who were attracted by the flower's pollen. It was Ricky's birthday, and he invited his best friends to go camping with him. The weather was perfect, so they decided to get a group picture next to the lake. Take a look at the picture. Can you figure out which of these two people are a couple? If you look closely, the first girl on the left and the boy in the middle have matching tattoos. They have a cute little heart tattooed in different parts of their bodies. They're definitely a couple. Sarah is getting married, and she invited her bridesmaids for a dress fitting. One of the bridesmaids is pregnant, though. Can you figure out who? Oh, it's the lady eating the pie, of course. She's definitely having one of those irresistible cravings. Sandy and Priscilla met for afternoon tea, and one of the ladies took Jake, her younger son, along. Can you figure out who Jake's biological mother is just by looking at the picture? It's Sandy, the woman on the left. She's got the same hair color as Jake. Jenny's living large, and Lana's just scraping by. Take a look at the snapshot of both of them in their apartments. Can you tell who's who? Lana's on the left. Even though her place looks pretty stylish, all the decor still has the price tags on it. She's probably planning to return everything after snapping that picture. Alex and Jordan finally decided to get married after dating for 5 years. On their wedding day, just before the ceremony was about to start, Jordan asked Alex to grab a bracelet from her dressing room, the one he gave her on their first anniversary. But when Alex walked in, something super weird happened. 3 Jordans were standing before him, all looking exactly the same. Since Jordan's uncle was a bit of a mad scientist, Alex immediately suspected he'd cloned her. Take a look at the picture. Can you figure out which one is the real Jordan? It's the third one. She's got the same bracelet that Alex always wears. Looks like Jordan's uncle forgot to clone that small detail. Alfie told Jen he'd been assigned to a top-secret mission in a remote desert. Just couldn't keep it secret, I guess. Super excited about the opportunity, they decided to try out a long-distance relationship. Jen asked him to send lots of photos, and he did. But after seeing the pics, Jen realized something was off and called it quits. How did Jen figure out Alfie was cheating? One of the last pics that Alfie sent had palm trees in the background, but there aren't any palm trees in the desert. Plus, the photos of the animals, there were kangaroos and koalas, which definitely don't live in the desert. Looks like Alfie faked the pics and wasn't where he said he was. Oh, and in one of the photos, there's a lipstick smudge on his shirt. Uh-oh. Ed's mom was responsible for overseeing the catering of his wedding. She went inside the kitchen to check if everything was okay, but came outside screaming. Can you guess what made her so mad? Look at the top of the cake. There are 2 statues of creepy-looking elves instead of the bride and groom. She wanted them to fix that immediately. Your cousin invites you to an amusement park called Funland's Frenzy. When you arrive, the ticket seller says there's a rule you must figure out before you can enter. They give you a few clues. At Funland's Frenzy, there are roller coasters but no bumper cars. There is cotton candy but no popcorn. There is pizza with cheese, but not pizza with sausage. Can you figure out the rules of Funland's Frenzy just with this info? The rule is that only things with double consonants are allowed. So, cotton candy, roller coasters, and pizza are in, and the rest are out.
Hey Brightside Detectives, we really need your help here. These riddles are to be solved as fast as possible. Look at these 2 people. Both of them seem to be in grave danger, but only one of them is actually risking his life. Which person is it? The gentleman with the cane is out of danger. He'll figure out that the edge of the cliff is ahead with the help of his cane. As for the man engrossed in his smartphone, he might not notice the edge of the cliff and fall down. While swimming near the shore, Mark has come across 3 young ladies. What the guy doesn't know is that only one of these women is not a mermaid. How can he understand who is who? Well, the answer is quite obvious. The guy should dive and check which one of the girls has legs and which 2 are sporting tails. Look at these 2 doctors attentively. Only one of them is a real vet. Which doc is it? The real vet is wearing gloves. Each of these 3 prisoners is hoping to escape one day, but one of them might do it in the near future. Which one is it? The guy who's peacefully reading a book must be planning an escape. Do you see that poster on the wall? It's likely covering a hole. Look at the ground right beneath it. There's some sand from drilling. Maria got lost in an enchanted castle. While looking for a way out, she entered a room filled with similarly dressed gentlemen. They were all cheering for the king. Oh, maybe he could help Maria get out of the castle. But how can the girl figure out which of these men is the king? The king is the man on the right, sitting next to Maria. He's the only one who's looking out the window while everyone else is looking at him. In search of a treasure, you come to this crossroads. Which direction should you pick to find the treasure? The answer is actually carved on the stone. Turn the inscription upside down, and it'll say South. David woke up in a hospital with no memories whatsoever. Soon, 3 girls rushed into his room. Each of them claimed to be his only sister. Can you help David figure out which of these ladies is telling the truth? David's real sister is the girl in the middle. Look, they both have identical birthmarks on their hands. Michael was diving when he realized he was about to run out of oxygen. He saw 2 caves nearby. Which cave should he choose to have a chance to survive? He should opt for the left cave. Have you noticed those bubbles of air coming out of it? It means there must be some dry land inside the cave. An elderly lady called the police to report that her neighbor, a young woman called Gina, seemed to have disappeared. The woman hadn't seen her for a few days and got worried. When the police arrived at Gina's house, they managed to unlock the door and found Gina inside, tied to a chair with her mouth covered with a scarf. When she could talk again, she told the police that 3 days ago, a robber had broken into her house, tied her, and taken all her money and gadgets. The police officers didn't believe Gina. Why? Look at the date on the calendar, over there on the wall. See? It's the same date as the one on the calendar at the police station. But if Gina was tied all this time, who was changing the dates on her calendar? 3 friends, Kathy, Mark, and Lauren, gathered together to catch up on their latest news at Lauren's place. At one point, they decided to play hide and seek. When it was Lauren's turn to look for her friends, she easily found Mark. But even with his help, she couldn't spot Kathy. Can you help Lauren find her friend? Kathy took her task seriously. Look, she's hiding in a trash can. Megan invited her friends to a restaurant to celebrate her birthday. They had a lot of fun. Megan got the best birthday present ever, a ring with a large diamond. But suddenly, the room plunged into darkness. After several minutes of total confusion, the lights came back on. But Megan's ring was gone. Look at the image attentively and try to figure out who stole it. It's the waiter. Look at the glass he's holding. He must have put the ring inside. Now there's much more water in it. It's the year 2158. Jim is repairing the roof of his garage. At one point, he slips and falls to the ground and breaks his leg. But the next day, Jim is already walking in the park, looking perfectly fine. How is it possible? Jim is a robot. See that red light blinking over his left ear? They must have repaired him really fast. Marta was walking through the park near her home in the evening. It was dark and there was nobody around. Suddenly, her bag was grabbed from behind and the person bolted away. Marta took off after them. She was pretty sure this person was a woman, but she couldn't make out her appearance or clothes. The woman disappeared inside a school building. When Marta ran inside, she saw 3 teachers. The girl looked at them attentively and soon figured out which one had taken her bag. Can you do the same? The woman in the middle wouldn't be able to run with the cast on her leg. The one on the right doesn't have anything in her hands. Where would she hide Marta's bag so quickly? But the woman on the left has a big shopper bag on her shoulder. A real teacher wouldn't need to carry it in the classroom. A wealthy businessman was kidnapped right from his house. The detective who arrived to investigate the case found nothing strange inside, but a mysterious note with a strange set of symbols written on it. There are 3 suspects: Eric, Ellie, and Colin. Can you help the detective identify the criminal? The culprit is Ellie. Her name is the one coded in the note. Susan worked in a clothing store that sold expensive designer items. One day, she discovered that someone had stolen a pair of pants. Look at the people who were inside at that time. Try to figure out who the thief is. It's the guy on the right. If you look attentively at his legs, you'll see the pants peeping out from under his jeans. Newlyweds Maria and Daniel went to a tropical island on their honeymoon. They stayed at a luxurious hotel. But one day, when they returned from dinner, they found out that someone had broken into their safe and stolen Maria's jewelry. There were several suspects: a maid, Maria and Daniel's neighbors, and the hotel manager. But the maid claimed that she hadn't cleaned any rooms on the newlyweds' floor at all that day. The neighbors said that they had been on an excursion all day and had just returned. And the hotel manager stated that he had several important meetings with clients and hadn't left his office. Can you figure out who the thief is really quick? The neighbors stole the jewelry. Have you noticed a bolt cutter in their bag? Why would they need it on an excursion? David worked at a construction site. Once, someone attacked him, and the unconscious man was taken to a hospital. Police officers who arrived to investigate the case had 3 suspects: Alex, Ryan, and John. Alex said that he had been putting tiles on the roof when the accident happened. Ryan confessed that he'd been sleeping under a tree. And John claimed that he'd been laying bricks at that time. Who's lying? Alex was the one to hurt David. The building has no roof yet, so he couldn't be putting tiles up there. Josh is an elite hunter for all things paranormal. He's called to visit a rich man's house. When he gets to the 2nd floor, his paranormality detecting watch starts beeping. His watch never lies, so he knows there must be some scary creature nearby. Before him, there were 3 doors. Just by looking at them, can you guess behind which door the ghost is hiding? Let's see. There are footprints leading to all 3 doors, but the footprints leading to door B are uneven. So this could be the ghost trying to trick Josh. He walks inside the room and encounters a werewolf. Yikes! After this successful mission, he gets on his motorcycle and drives home. But when he stops at a red light, his paranormal watch starts to beep again. The watch is even more sensitive to ghosts, so he senses there must be one nearby. Take a look at the image. Do you have any clue where the ghost might be? There's a woman standing at the bus stop, next to the red light. Her feet aren't touching the ground and her stare is blank. She must be the ghost. When Josh tries to capture her, she disappears into the dark forest. Josh tries to locate the girls through his watch and walks into the forest too. The watch shows him 3 routes, A, B, and C. Can you guess the correct one? It's route B. That one leads to the girl. Josh follows the route, but it leads him to a meadow with different trees. Take a look at the image. Can you guess where the girl is hiding? Tree A or tree B? The ghost is hiding behind that tiny tree, next to tree A. If you look carefully at the shadow, the shape is too weird. Josh snaps his ghost device and captures the ghost.
Yeah!
Dan and Jesse are detectives. Early one morning, they got an urgent call from one of their clients, saying they needed to come over ASAP. They got into their vehicle and drove to the location. On the way, they were stopped by a police checkpoint. Dan and Jesse had to get out of the vehicle for an inspection. But Dan noticed something strange. The cop was a fake. How could he tell? The cop was wearing a ripped shirt, but that was not the real issue. His badge said City Police with a U instead of an O. Big trouble there, buddy. 3 vehicles are racing each other for a $20,000 prize. They're driving on a dangerous road, and each of them has their obstacles to overcome. Take a look at the image. Which vehicle is going to win the race? The first vehicle tried to escape those nails on the ground, but the nails were going to puncture one of the vehicles for sure. The third driver may try to contour the obstacle in front of him, but that will make him lose time. The one in the middle has the most chances of winning, since he's large enough to go through that hole. Maya and Rob are a couple famous for robbing expensive stores. One night, they decided to break into the town's most famous jewelry store. In the middle of the night, they arrive in front of the store and see there is a complex lock system protecting the store. Rob pulls 3 keys from his toolbox. One of them opens the lock, but if they use the incorrect key, the alarm will go off. Take a look and give it your best guess to find the correct lock. The second key is the correct one. If you notice, the lower line is missing in the third key, and the first key won't even fit into the keyhole since the lower part is inverted. Detective Saul woke up in an empty room. The last thing she remembers was helping to solve an important robbery that happened in her neighborhood. The room had nothing but 3 paintings hanging on the wall. She also noticed that the door was locked with a super technological code system. Saul uses the pictures on the wall as clues to sort out the code of the lock and see her way to freedom. Can you figure out what the 3-letter code is? The code is ICE. All 3 frames are related to ice. She puts in the code and it works. She's free!
Yes!
Jenny, Beth, and Prim are sisters. Their father tells them he needs to decide who's going to be the heir to the biggest amount of money he leaves behind. He tells them to boil water. The kettle of the daughter whose water boils first will determine who becomes the heir. They all start boiling at the same time, but the youngest's kettle boils first. Why? While the other daughters kept checking by lifting the lid, the youngest daughter kept hers closed, making it boil faster. Way to go. Drake is a businessman and needed to drive from New York to Boston. As soon as he arrived in Boston, he noticed that his tire was punctured at the beginning of the trip. Somehow, his journey was unaffected. How is that possible? The punctured tire was his spare one. Mary and Anna grew up in a middle-class suburban family. After they graduated, both of them moved to New York City to follow their dream jobs. But while Mary succeeded greatly in her career, making a lot of money, the same didn't happen for Anna. Today, Mary is rich and Anna is broke. Take a look at the image of both girls inside their apartments. Can you guess who is who? Anna is the one on the left. Although she looks like she owns some nice stuff, all of her home decor has price tags on it, so she's probably planning on returning these items to the store. The company decided to have a fun day with its employees. A lucky person would win the latest laptop if they could get out of a maze the fastest way possible. Brad and Monica were the only ones who said yes to the challenge, but it looks like they're both having a difficult time. Take a look at the image. Who's more stupid?
Ah.
Oh no. Let's see. Well, Brad lost his glasses and he couldn't see anything. It's like he's trying to walk through the maze in a blindfold.
Oh, really?
And Monica just needs to turn her map the other way around, and she'll make it out okay.
Oh my god.
Jenny is moving to Australia. Her bags are packed and she's ready to leave the house. But on her way out, she noticed she was forgetting a few pretty important things.
No.
She needs to find her passport, her phone, and the note with the address of her hotel. Can you help her find these items? Could Jenny be any messier? Her phone is thrown on the floor next to the couch. The note is tucked in between a couple of books on her shelf, and her passport is next to the center table's feet. Yikes! Harry is out on an important mission. He is a young new musician and he sent one of his original songs to a producer. The producer wanted to release the song without giving Harry any credits, so Harry decided to hack the man's computer. When he accessed his IP, a strange code appeared. Harry needed to decipher the code in order to break in. Take a look. Can you figure out what the code stands for? It's way simpler than you might think. The answer is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All the numbers were shown with their mirror reflections. Easy peasy. Detective Sean arrived at a robbery. Someone had stolen from an Apple store. While Sean was talking to the security guard, he noticed the security guard was one of the robbers. How did he know? The security guard was standing next to a shattered glass that had been broken by hand, and his hand had lots of scratches and band-aids on it. He probably took advantage of the situation and took some things for himself. Mark worked in a secret laboratory that had super strict rules. Once, he got so engrossed in his experiments that he missed the end of the working day. It meant he got locked inside and could only get out of the building through one of 3 doors. But one exit was guarded by a bear. Near the second one, a large and furious dog was pacing on a leash, and the last door was blocked by an armed security guard who would never go against the rules. Which door should Mark choose to spend the night at home? Mark should opt for the first door. Yeah, the bear looks threatening, but it's sleeping. So if Mark is quiet enough, there's a chance he'll slip past the animal unnoticed. 3 waitresses are working at a restaurant serving drinks and food, but one of them is actually a thief. Can you figure out which one it is? It's that girl in the middle. Have you paid attention to her handbag? It's Dior. Who would have been wearing a designer bag while working in a cafe? She must have stolen it a few minutes ago. Look at these people taking part in a business meeting. They look elegant and well off, but one of them is actually an undercover police officer. Can you spot them? It's this man on the right. Have you noticed his old sneakers? That's a weird choice of footwear for a business meeting. These two women look like regular prisoners minding their own business, but one of them is actually a werewolf in disguise. Can you figure out which one it is? It's the girl on the left. Have you noticed claw marks on the wall of her cell? She must have felt restless at one point. Uh-oh. 3 people are having a meal in a cafe. All of them seem to be regular customers, right? But what if I tell you that one of them is on this monster before they start their hunt? It's that woman on the right. Look, the girl on the left is eating pizza with garlic, so she can't be a vampire. The man in the middle is reflected in the mirror hanging on the wall behind his back, so it leaves us with the woman on the right. Damien went on a long-awaited sea cruise. At first, everything was going great, but then a young girl, Alex, who was also on the cruise, disappeared. The ship immediately changed course and stopped at a port. Police officers arrived and questioned the passengers. After the interrogation, they had 3 suspects. When Damien looked at them attentively, he realized who was behind the girl's disappearance right away. Can you figure it out too? It's that woman on the right. She's got Alex's suitcase. The girl had it at the beginning of the journey, plus her name is on the handle. A young geography teacher disappeared on the first day of school. The police have 3 suspects: the headmaster, the PE teacher, and the janitor. Look at these people attentively and find the culprit. The janitor is behind the geography teacher's disappearance. Have you noticed a globe in his closet? This student dormitory has very strict rules of being absent after lights out. But look at this room. One of its inhabitants managed to sneak out to attend a party and get back. Who's the rule breaker? It's this guy on the left. Have you noticed a glow stick bracelet on his hand? Look at these 3 zombies. One of them is not as bad as it seems. Can you figure out which zombie isn't dangerous? The zombie on the left is petting a dog. He seems to love animals. He can't be dangerous. 3 museum guards were protecting the most expensive vase in history. It was kept in a vault used to store the most precious exhibits, but all the security measures didn't help, and the vase got stolen. Since no one entered the vault or left it, the police concluded that the thief was one of the guards. Look at this security footage and say which guard is the criminal. It's the 3rd guard. In the footage, he didn't move even once, which is impossible for a breathing human. He must have messed with the footage by altering the recording of himself. David moved to a small town and decided to get a tattoo to celebrate this new stage of his life. There were just 2 tattoo parlors in the town. One was dark and gloomy. The equipment was old, and the tattoo artist himself had a sloppy tattoo on his back. The second parlor was bright. The equipment was shiny, and the tattoo artist had a beautiful, skillfully made tattoo on his back. Strangely, David chose the first tattoo parlor. Why? There are only 2 tattoo artists in town, and they couldn't tattoo their own backs. It means they gave tattoos to each other. If you compare their works, you'll immediately see that, despite his old equipment and gloomy atmosphere in his parlor, the first tattoo artist is much more skilled. A security guard at a supermarket found a lost wallet. After he made an announcement, 2 guys appeared. each of them claiming the wallet was his. The guard looked at them and gave the wallet to the taller guy. Why did he do that? Look, his belt is in exactly the same style and made of exactly the same material as the wallet. It must have been a set. The wallet and the belt were sold together. Alice got lost in the woods. After wandering for a while, she saw a mysterious castle. When she entered it, the owner of the castle immediately showed up. He made an offer. Alice could answer his question and he would show her the way home before midnight. But if she lost, she would stay in the castle forever. Alice agreed. There were 4 mirrors on the walls. Each mirror had a reflection of some mystical creature: a dragon, a vampire, a mermaid, and a zombie. Alice needed to figure out which reflection wasn't real. Can you help her? It's the vampire. Do you remember that these creatures aren't reflected in mirrors? Michael was getting ready for a long-awaited date, but when he arrived, he was shocked to see 2 identical girls. They both claimed to be his date. Can you help the guy figure out which girl is an imposter? The girl on the right isn't human. Have you noticed that she has 2 left feet? A police officer claims that one of the suspects she's detained is a werewolf. Can you figure out which of them isn't human? The police officer herself is a werewolf. Look at her hands. She actually has not nails, but claws. Both of these women claim to be this kid's mother, but one of them's lying. Think hard and expose the fake mom. The lady on the left has the same hair and eye color as the kid, but the second one has 2 moles in the same spots as the child. Plus, she's wearing a bracelet depicting a baby. In the magic country of Narnia, all animals are intelligent and rational. You're watching 10 lions and a sheep. If you get distracted, a lion can eat a sheep. What lions don't know is that later, the one that has eaten a sheep will turn into a sheep itself. In this case, the rest of the lions will eat it. If you leave this company alone for some time, how many lions and sheep will you find when you come back? When you return, there will be 9 lions and 1 sheep. The main thing here is that all the animals are rational. Once the lion eats the sheep and turns into a sheep itself, the rest of the lions will understand the consequences and prefer to stay in the safety of their natural form. Once, an expedition set up camp in the middle of a desert. They decided to spend a few days in that place, but when they woke up, their truck had disappeared. Luckily, they had enough food to last a week, but no power and little water. 3 days later, one of the members of the expedition disappeared. The leader of the team questioned the remaining people. Logan said he'd been walking around the camp trying to find water. Joanna said she'd been playing games on her smartphone. Samantha claimed she'd been sleeping all day long to save energy. And Nick said he'd been preparing a report in his tent. Can you figure out who's lying? Joanna isn't telling the truth. Within 3 days, her phone would have already run out of battery. And the expedition doesn't have any power, remember?
Oh.
James was walking near the river in the evening when a group of people dressed in black and wearing masks grabbed him. The leader told James that he had 3 options. They could throw him into the sea with hungry piranhas. He could choose to get dumped into the ocean swarming with sharks, or he could opt for a river with hippos. What option should James pick to survive? Piranhas only live in fresh water. The guy should pick the sea with piranhas.
Yeah!
Ah, look at the groom. It seems he might not live long enough to become a husband.
Oh no!
One of these ladies has bitten him. Which one was it? It was Lady C. Look at her ears. She doesn't seem to be human.
Oh.
Look at these two pictures and try to figure out who is the robot here. Despite their unusual tattoos, the girls are humans. The robot is actually the cat in the picture on the right. Have you noticed that it's charging through a USB port on its side?
Oh.
Students knew they would have an exam on Monday, but their professor refused to tell them the exact time. Every time they asked, they got a weird reply. If 11 plus 2 equals 1, 10 plus 6 equals 4. If you manage to figure out the answer, you won't miss the exam. Do you know when the students should meet with their professor? At 4 p.m. 11 o'clock plus 2 hours is 1 p.m. Then 10 o'clock and 6 hours is 4 p.m.
Whoa.
Look at these seemingly wealthy women. In reality, one of them is just pretending to be rich. Which one is it? It's the lady on the left. Her bag is fake. The label claims it's Goosey when it's supposed to be Gucci.
Oh my god.
Mark is locked in a room. There are 4 doors there. The guy has entered through one of them and he can't use it again. The first door leads to the room with high voltage wires hanging above the wet floor. Behind the second door, there's a water-filled room swarming with sharks. And the third door hides a room where acid flesh-melting rain is falling from the ceiling. Which door is the least dangerous and can give Mark a chance to escape? Mark should opt for the first door. It'll be safe if Mark doesn't let his body come into contact with the wires and the wet floor at the same time. Now, try to crack this tricky riddle. It's nothing but holes tied to other holes. At the same time, this thing is as strong as steel but not as stiff as a pole. So what's your idea? What is it? It's a chain. Two people were born at the exact same time but have different birth dates. How is it even possible? These people were born in different time zones in different places in the world. Now you have to think outside the box to crack this one. 1 is to 3 as 3 is to 5, and 5 is to 4. And 4 is the magic number. Can you figure out the pattern? The word 1 has 3 letters, the word 3 has 5, and the word 5 consists of 4 letters. But the word 4 has 4 letters in it. And whatever number you try, eventually you'll come back to 4. And the game will end there. Mira inherited an old house from her granddad. When she was exploring the cellar, she came across a massive wooden door. She opened it and saw a small room with 3 bags and a note. One of the bags has $1 million and the others are empty. You can only open one bag, so think carefully. Mira also noticed there was a message on each bag. The first bag claimed, "The cash is not here." The message on the second bag was, "The cash is not here." And the third bag said, "The cash is in the second bag." If only one message is true, which bag has the money? The money can't be in the second or third bags. If it was so, then two messages would be true. It means the money is in the first bag. William took part in a game show and ended up as one of the two contestants to make it to the finals. He came up to the table with 3 cups on it, but only one of these drinks was safe to try. The other 2 were poisoned, and even though a mistake wouldn't cost William his life, the consequences would be unpleasant. The drinks were tea with sugar, cappuccino, and hot chocolate. Which one should William choose? If it was indeed sugar in the tea, it would have already melted completely. But it didn't happen. Cappuccino looks suspiciously green. It's probably unsafe to drink. William opted for the hot chocolate and won the challenge. Look at these people walking along the sea attentively. One of them isn't human. Who is it? It's the young guy in the middle. He has no shadow. Creepy. When you look for something, you always find it in the last place where you search. Why is that? It's always the last place where you look, because after this, you stop your search. One of these ladies is a sporty man's wife. How long will it take you to guess which one it is? It's the girl who doesn't have a helmet, because her helmet is waiting for her on her husband's bike. All of these people seem to be terribly sick. Oh, I see. It's the maid. She's poisoned them. But what if I tell you that one of these people is actually faking poisoning, trying to save their life? Can you figure out who it is?
Oh my God!
It's the woman on the left wearing a red dress. She hasn't even touched her drink. Look at these ladies very attentively. One of them has stolen a watermelon. Can you understand which one it is? It's the woman on the right. The watermelon is actually peeking through her clothes. You're walking through a forest when you see a big lake. In the middle of the lake, you notice 3 cages floating on the surface. Inside, there are 3 people. Adam's cage is blocked by a huge chunk of ice. Luke's cage is locked with a massive padlock. And on top of Helen's cage, there's a container with boiling water. You can help only one of them. Who should you pick? You should choose to help Luke. The ice blocking Adam's cage will melt sooner or later. The boiling water will evaporate, and Helen will be able to escape, but Luke won't get out of the cage on his own.
Help!
2 identical vans were crossing the bridge when it collapsed. The cars fell into the water and started to sink. Luckily, the drivers were unharmed, but they had to figure out how to get to the surface really fast because the vans started to fill with water. One of the drivers began to push the closest door, and the other tried to open the side door. Who has a higher chance of survival?
Help!
The first driver won't be able to open the door because of the water pressure, but the side door in the second car is a sliding door. With some effort, the second driver will be able to open it and escape.
So, our guy James here had passed all the first stages of the entrance exam for the Superhero Training Academy. For the final stage, the committee was going to test if he was able to determine who to save first in urgent situations. So they showed him a few images and wanted him to decide who was really in danger. Can you help him out? Here are the first two. In the second image, the train is not moving and the lights are not on. That means the man can cross without any danger. As for the woman taking a bath and trying to dry her hair, well, it's not wise to use electrical stuff in the bathtub, so James should save her first. Now take a look at this footage of two people falling from a cliff. Can you help James detect who is in real danger here? The guy holding the umbrella might appear to be falling faster than the guy holding the plastic bag. However, he's going to fall right into the water, whereas there is a sharp rock right below the plastic bag guy. So, in a situation like this, James should save him first. The last image was going to determine whether James would be accepted or not. Who should be saved first? The lady absorbed in her phone in the second image is safe, because even though the traffic looks busy, the lights show a clear walk signal and cars are stopped. But the man in the first image has left a metal spoon in the microwave that he's about to turn on. That's a big no-no. James finally got accepted into Superhero Training Academy. But there, he was not going to use his real name. He needed to pick a superhero name for himself. Can you guess what his name is? These emojis might help. His superhero name is Thunderbolt Titan. Ooh. It was time to graduate. At the ceremony, the headmaster of the academy wanted to reward Thunderbolt Titan for finishing first in his class. He presented him with a mysterious chest containing a To decode this number sequence, we use a mobile phone keypad, as the hint suggests, where each number pair represents a letter. The first digit indicates the keypad number, and the second digit selects the letter's position on that key. For instance, 42 translates to H, because 4 corresponds to the GHI button, and pressing on it 2 times will give you H. Following this method, the fully decoded message is "Help now." A villain from the multiverse had brought all kinds of creatures to planet Earth, and the Protectors League needed Thunderbolt Titan's help to find and capture them before they unleashed chaos. The first monster they were searching for was a zombie, and the Protectors League had 3 suspects. Take a look at them and help Thunderbolt Titan successfully complete his first mission. The first person looks all dirty, but she was probably working in the garden. The second lady's grocery bag is leaking juice, not blood. So the third person must be the zombie, because the living don't wear hospital tags on their ankles. The second creature the Protectors League was searching for was an extraterrestrial being. Take a look at their 2 suspects. Who is the one hiding from the League? Look at Gary M's hospital patient chart. It says his fever is 24.5 degrees Celsius. A human can't have such a low body temperature. He must be the creature. Lastly, the league suspected that a robot was pretending to be a human at a college campus. They spotted 3 students who were acting suspiciously. Can you help Thunderbolt Titan figure out who the robot is? You might think it's obvious that the 3rd student is a robot, but he only has a super realistic-looking robot tattoo on his arm. The 1st student has a blinking red light inside his shirt's pocket, but that's just a camera. On the other hand, the 2nd student has a USB port on one of her fingers. She must be the robot. To the Protectors League's surprise, there was a 4th monster who had escaped their attention. And at the headquarters, they got an emergency alarm that it was creating mayhem at the amusement park. Thunderbolt Titan immediately rushed there. Upon arrival, he found that the creature's actions had led to a malfunction on the roller coaster ride, causing 3 passengers to be stranded dangerously. Which one should Thunderbolt Titan save first? The 2nd guy will fall first because he's only holding on with one hand, which is actually pretty difficult to do for an extended period of time. Therefore, Thunderbolt Titan should first save him. Thunderbolt Titan had successfully completed his first 2 missions. However, the villain was not happy that he ruined his evil plans. So he captured him and locked him in a room with no exits. There was only a note that said, "Answer this riddle and you might escape." What can fill a room but takes up no space? The answer is light. Even though Thunderbolt Titan answered the riddle correctly, nothing happened. The villain had tricked him. He had to do something, so he used his superpowers to open 3 portals for himself. However, he didn't have great control over his magical portal power yet. So, all the portals led to tricky places. The first one opened to a jungle full of all kinds of wild animals. The second one opened into the middle of a desert planet, and the third one opened to the edge of a steep, rocky hill. Which one should he choose? Remember the roller coaster mission? Thunderbolt Titan can fly, so he can choose the 3rd portal and fly to safety from the steep hill. One night, Thunderbolt Titan was patrolling the city when he received a distress call. A woman had been attacked by a purse snatcher, and during the struggle, she fell and hit her head. She was now in the hospital room without her bag and her memory. The police officer informed Thunderbolt Titan that there were 3 men outside her door, all claiming to be her husband. Can you help Thunderbolt Titan figure out who is telling the truth? The purse snatcher might have taken her bag, but he didn't take her necklace. Look, she has an L letter pendant. And the first guy here has a neck tattoo that says Liz. He must be her husband. Thunderbolt Titan got an emergency alarm call from the Antarctica Animals Research Center. One of their beloved penguins had been stolen, and they needed his help to find the He narrowed the suspects to 3. Take a look at them. Can you figure out who stole the penguin? The second lady looks like she's hiding something under her skirt, but she's just pregnant. The third guy's backpack looks bulky, but see the flight tag attached to it? That's just his carry-on. But the first guy is hiding raw fish inside his tote bag. That must be to feed the penguin, so he's the thief. During a championship race, one of the cars was suspected of being sabotaged. Thunderbolt Titan was called to the scene to help identify which one with his scanning power. Can you figure it out before him? Take a look at the rear wheel of car 2. It's slightly wobbling, even though the car is stationary. Uh-oh. Hey, let's see how smart you are. Ezra is in love with his new classmate named Amber. He asks her out. She agrees to go on a date with him under one condition. He has to figure out which one of these 7 pencil cases is hers. Can you help him out? Take a look at Amber's outfit. It's pretty obvious that she likes cats. So we can make a short list of cases with cat decorations. Also, Amber likes purple. Therefore, only this pencil case is a perfect match. Ezra and Amber are walking down the street and enjoying each other's company. But there's a criminal among these people. Can you spot who? It's this black hoodie guy inside the police car. Ezra wants to take Amber to his favorite spot in the park. But unfortunately, the main road is closed for repairs. They have to walk through this maze. Can you help them find the correct route? Here's the only way leading to the final destination. Ezra takes a couple of pictures of Amber. Can you find 5 differences between them? Feel free to stop the video if you need more time. Are you ready to see the answers? Here they are. Later that day, Ezra returns home. He wants to watch videos on his tablet. But unfortunately, his little brother pulled a prank and changed his password. Can you help Ezra figure out the new 4-digit code? Ezra's brother left this painting on the wall. It's a hint. All Ezra has to do is count the number of angles on each shape. So the answer is 3406. Ezra is watching his favorite travel blogger, Diego. This guy has a couple of million followers. This time, Diego goes into the uninhabited desert. He wants to find a very rare type of lizard. He reaches his final destination, posts several photos, and goes to sleep. After this post, thousands of people, including Ezra, unsubscribe from Diego. Why? Take a look at the third photo. See this sign? There's a hotel nearby. So, Diego lied. He's not in the uninhabited desert. Amber wakes up in the middle of the night because she hears someone crying and moaning. She turns on the nightlight. There's a creepy ghost standing in front of her bed. But soon Amber realizes that the ghost isn't real. How did she know? Look at the floor. This ghost has a shadow, so it can't be real. The next morning, Amber enters the class and sees a bunch of beautiful flowers at her desk. She finds a love note on the bouquet. The flowers are from a secret admirer. Amber wants to know who sent them, so she questions 3 suspects. Ezra says that he's allergic to lilies. Harry says he's in love with another lady. It makes no sense for him to send any gifts to Amber. And Bob says he was the first to arrive at the class today. The flowers were already on Amber's desk. Who's the secret admirer? Take a look at Harry's desk. There's a notebook with the exact same purple paper as the love note. Gotcha. After classes, Ezra and Amber go to the local coffee shop. They take a seat and look around. They see a guy and a lady competing in arm wrestling. Who has more chances to win? Take a look at the lady's neck. It has a USB port. She's a robot. Therefore, she's gonna win. Ezra returns home and finds out that his father, Aaron, is missing. Aaron is a genius scientist and businessman. He's been receiving many threats recently. So Ezra calls the police right away. The officer questions Aaron's three major rivals. Alex says he left the business many years ago. He lives a humble life in the village. Chris says his business is much more successful than Aaron's. Why would he kidnap him? And Mike says he hasn't seen Aaron for many years, and they don't have any joint ventures. One of these guys is involved in Aaron's disappearance. Can you guess who? Take a look at the fridge. Aaron left a hint. If we use the letters encoded in this message, we'll get the name Mike. Meanwhile, Aaron wakes up in a creepy dungeon. His kidnappers ask him to create a potion that can shrink people tenfold. Aaron doesn't want to help them. Luckily, he has 2 pills in his pocket. The first one makes you invisible, and the second one makes you 10 times bigger. Aaron doesn't know which pill is which. Can you come up with an escape plan? Aaron is sitting here all alone. He has no one to test the pills on. So it's better to create the shrinking pills for the kidnappers. Then eat one of his own pills. If he grows 10 times, he can just use the new pills to return to his actual size. But if he turns invisible, he can escape with the shrinking pills. Well, Aaron escapes from the kidnappers and runs to the nearest subway. Can you spot a criminal in this location? Hello? Aaron gets on a busy train and goes to the police station. One of these passengers is a wizard. Can you spot who? It's this lady. Her feet don't touch the floor. She's flying. Aaron is walking towards the police station, but suddenly he falls into a pit. He ends up getting trapped in a dungeon. Soon, Aaron finds 3 doors. Behind the first door, there's a mirror labyrinth. It drives every man who dares to spend more than 5 minutes there crazy. There's a hungry wolf behind the second door. He loves feasting on humans. And behind the third door, there's a huge tank with sharks. If Aaron steps in, he'll fall into the tank. What should he do to survive? Aaron should open the third door, then open the second door and let the wolf out. And finally, quickly hide behind the first door and close his eyes. The wolf would start looking for Aaron behind the second door and fall into the tank with sharks. Then Aaron will be free to escape through the second door. Finally, Aaron is home. Ezra prepares him a welcome chocolate cake. He puts it on the table and leaves the kitchen for a moment. Then he returns and finds out that the cake is ruined. Ezra questions the 2 people who are in the house. His brother says that he's been playing video games in the living room. He didn't enter the kitchen. And Aaron says he's been taking a shower. Who ruined the cake? Neither brother nor father. The window in the kitchen is open, and there's a bird covered in chocolate on the tree. It was the bird. Aaron builds a robot that can do all the housework and calls it Meg. One day, Aaron comes home from work and finds out that his robot is missing. He's looking for it everywhere and finally finds a dungeon. He goes there hoping to find his robot. But instead, he finds 5 robots looking exactly the same as his. He only has one try to pick the right robot. Can you help Aaron? Some robots have badges, some do not. But only this one has the name Meg. The next day, Aaron enters his office and finds one of his best employees, Stan, lying on the floor in one of the rooms. Someone had hit him on the head. The police question the workers and find 3 suspects. Maya, the office assistant, says she had a couple of days off and spent them sunbathing on the beach. Rob, the manager, tells the police that his friend had called him to ask for help. That's why he left the office before Stan came to work. Lily, Stan's girlfriend, says they had quarreled earlier that day, but after that, she didn't see him. The police officers understand right away who's lying. What about you? Maya said she spent several days on the beach, but her skin is super pale. Uh-oh, busted. Psst, you. Yeah, you. I really need your detective help with these riddles. Maria came to a beauty salon. She had 2 appointments, a manicure and a haircut. Suddenly, she realized that one of the professionals working there was dangerous. Who was it? The hairdresser with huge stained scissors and brushes in the pocket of her apron? Or the nail tech with a nail file and suspicious red stains on her uniform? Look at the manicurist more attentively. In her bag, you'll notice a knife, a rope, and a tape. She's definitely dangerous.
No.
Look at these people waiting for their flight at the airport. Can you figure out which of them is a dog owner? It's the man on the left, sitting on a bench and reading a book. Have you been attentive enough to notice he's got a bone in his bag? It must be a gift for his pooch. Now look at these guys. One of them is a zombie. Can you figure out which one it is? When you think about it, you'll understand that zombies are into brains, not computers. Plus, the guy on the right has a weirdly shaped palm, and he's looking at the other guy's head too intently. The gamer should watch out.
Boy.
Now, this might look like a lovely family portrait, but not all people depicted here are actually human. Can you figure out which family member is a ghost? Pay attention to the shadows. The man is the only person in this photo to have one. Sadly, the rest of his family are just ghosts. You've got to choose one room in which you'll have to spend 1 hour. One of the rooms is swarming with thousands of rats. Another is almost completely filled with water. And the last room is an infinite pool with jellyfish. Which room should you pick? The second room is the safest option. If you manage to stay close to the surface, you'll be able to breathe since there's a bit of space between the ceiling and the water.
Oh, yes.
Look at these hybrid animals. You're about to fight one of them. Think twice before picking your opponent. The wrong choice may cost you your life. Opt for the hybrid of a shark and a jaguar. Such a bizarre creature won't be able to breathe on dry land, and you'll just need to wait a bit before the jury announces your victory. So you've just moved to a new town. It's so small that there are just 2 barbershops there. The barber working in the first one has an impeccable haircut. The hair of the barber in the second establishment looks quite messy, and still, you choose to go to the second professional. Why? Well, if there are just 2 barbers in the town, it means the second barber gave the first one his perfect haircut. Look at these ladies attentively. All of them seem to be pregnant. But what if I tell you that one of them has just stolen a watermelon? Can you figure out who it is? The first lady has a visible belly button. The second one doesn't hold her belly at the moment, so it must be real. As for the third girl, she's holding her belly tightly, and we can see something green through her clothes. She must be the watermelon thief. Now let's check your logistical thinking and math skills. You have 3 empty cups and 10 sugar cubes. You need to distribute these sugar cubes between the cups in such a way that each cup contains an odd number of cubes. All you need to do is put 3 cubes in the first cup and 3 cubes in the second cup. After that, place the remaining 4 cubes and the second cup in cup number 3. This way, the first cup will have 3 sugar cubes, which is an odd number. The second cup will have 3 sugar cubes too. As for cup number 3, it will contain 7 sugar cubes, 4 of its own and 3 from the second cup. You have a box with multicolored marbles. All but 2 of them are red, all but 2 are blue, and all but 2 are green. How many marbles are there in the box? There are just 3 marbles in the box: blue, green, and red. A young lady has the same number of brothers and sisters, but each of her brothers has twice fewer brothers and sisters. How many sisters and brothers are there in the family? There are 4 girls and 3 boys in the family. Once, a man decided to go on a fishing trip with his friends. He asked his wife to pack some things for him: a fishing rod, a fishing box, some clothes that would be enough for a week, and his favorite pajamas. The wife did so. After the man returned, he entertained his wife with funny stories about what had happened during the trip. Suddenly, he asked why his wife hadn't packed his pajamas. The wife immediately understood that her husband was lying to her. He hadn't been on a fishing trip. How did she understand that? The woman put the pajamas in the fishing box. And if her husband didn't find it, it means he didn't open the fishing box. What a weird fishing trip that was. Jack is participating in a challenge. He's made it to the last stage, which takes place in a desert. If he succeeds now, he'll win $1 million. Jack needs to get a key out of one of 4 pots. On top of the first pot, there's a bowl filled with a strong acid. The second pot is covered with a bowl full of venomous spiders. In the bowl placed on the third pot, Jack sees a raging fire. A viper is curled up in the bowl covering the fourth pot. Now Jack isn't allowed to drop the bowls to the ground or turn them over. Which pot should he choose? The guy should choose the third bowl. He can put out the fire with sand and get the key. Camilla was afraid of dogs. One day, while jogging in the park, she noticed a large dog sitting near the bench. It looked unfriendly. The leash attached to the dog's collar was 3 feet long. Camilla decided it would be safe to pass by if there were at least 7 feet of space between her and the animal. But even on a leash, the dog still managed to bite her. How come? Well, the leash wasn't tied to anything.
Oh.
Kevin, a security guard in an amusement park, found a boy standing near a roller coaster. The kid said his name was Nick. He didn't know where his father was. Kevin took Nick to his office and made an announcement. Soon after that, two men showed up at the door. The first exclaimed that he and his son had been in a cafe. But after eating his burger, the man felt so unwell he had to spend almost 20 minutes in the bathroom. When he got out, his son wasn't around. The other man interrupted him, saying that he had ridden a roller coaster with his son. Then he left the boy to wait there and went to get some hot dogs. Which man was Nick's father? Nick is too young to ride that roller coaster. Look at that sign stating that only those older than 14 are allowed to have a ride. It means the second man is lying. The boy's dad is the unlucky guy with food poisoning. A bank manager was missing. The only suspicious thing the police found was a note left on his office desk. There were 4 numbers on it. His colleagues, John, James, and Otto, claimed they had nothing to do with this disappearance. But the police thought otherwise. Who did they suspect? When you write the word 1, it starts with the letter O. 2 starts with T, and so does 3. Then we have 1 again. That's the letter O. Together, we have the name Otto. And finally, a funny riddle might help you relax. Why should you never trust gravity? Because gravity will always let you down. Have a good one! Luna here buys a plot of land with an unfinished house. The previous owner started construction 2 years ago, but he didn't finish it. Luna launches reconstruction, and soon she realizes that the house is haunted. Most ghosts are peaceful, but after a while, some mischievous ghost begins to ruin the house. Luna calls a famous ghostbuster, Phil. He interviews all the ghosts. The handyman ghost says he's been here since the very beginning, because he fell during construction. The ghost doctor says he moved here 6 years ago to hide from people and enjoy silence. And the third ghost used to live in a lake nearby, but then settled here. That was more than a year ago. So, who's lying? The doctor. He says he moved here 6 years ago. But the house itself was built only 2 years ago. Case solved. The local music school is haunted by the ghost of an opera diva. Phil arrives, explores the school, and questions 3 witnesses. The teacher heard the singing from the basement the other day. She went there to check, but it was empty. Nellie, the student, says that he saw the singing ghost in the hallway. And another student, Sam, saw her in the toilet. After hearing their stories, Phil is sure that the students pranked their teacher. Why? Take a closer look at the basement. It's full of dusty stuff. But this smart speaker isn't dusty, which means it was brought here recently. Only students claim to have actually seen the diva ghost. Oh, busted! Phil gets out of the castle and receives a new call. People complain about a ghost on the local pier. Phil arrives at the haunted spot and sees these 3 ladies. Who's the ghost? All 3 are ghosts. If they were living, dense people, their backs would be reflected in the water, not their faces. Phil asks the ghost ladies to leave. 2 of them agree, but the third one escapes to the nearest forest. Phil follows her, but he loses track. Can you help him find her? She's hiding in this puddle. Phil returns home and checks his email. He receives 2 job offers from 2 different ghost-busting agencies. One of them is willing to pay him $1.8 million with an annual increase of $200,000. Another company is offering him a salary of $2 million with no raises. Which job will create more wealth in 3 years? Alright, let's do the math. If Phil picks the first agency, his salary will grow to $2 million in the second year. And in the third year, it will be $2.2 million. So he would earn $6 million by the end of the third year. If he picks the second agency, the math is more simple. 3 times 20. And again, he would earn $6 million by the end of the third year. However, if Phil picks the first agency, he would earn much more in the fourth year. So the choice is pretty obvious. Phil takes the first job, but first he decides to have a brief vacation in a famous haunted hotel. Unfortunately, someone robs the hotel during his stay. The police officer arrives in the morning and interrogates 3 guests. Phil says, "Sir, there was a heavy snowfall yesterday, so I was in my room all day watching TV." Peter says, "I was feeling sick yesterday. I wasn't in my senses. How could I commit the robbery?" And Bella says, "I returned to the hotel about 10 minutes ago. I don't know anything about the robbery." The officer figures out who committed the robbery right away. What about you? Bella is suspicious. She says she returned 10 minutes ago. But there are no footprints outside the hotel except for the officer's footprints. The next morning, Phil wakes up in a haunted basement. He's starving. Suddenly, a creepy man enters and brings him 4 plates of food. He says that Phil can only choose one dish. What should he choose? There's a bug in the first plate. The second one has an unpleasant smell. And the fourth one has nothing edible left. So Phil should take the third plate. After a while, the local ghost offers Phil a deal. If he solves a riddle, the ghost will help him escape. What phrase is represented by this rebus below? Can you help him out? It means, "I am surrounded by enemies." Phil keeps on chasing the ghost and falls into a pit. He ends up getting trapped in a cave. Phil comes across 3 doors. Behind the first door, there's a maze. He will be lost for the rest of his life trying to get through. There's a deep, narrow chasm behind the second door. If Phil steps in, he'll fall into it. There's a zombie behind the third door. He loves feasting on humans. What should Phil do to escape? He should open the second door, then open the third one and quickly hide behind the first door. The zombie would assume that Phil entered the second door and start chasing him. The zombie will fall into the chasm, and Phil will be free to go through the third door. Phil gets out of the trap and returns to the city. He's walking down the street. Suddenly, a pretty lady approaches him and asks to call the police. Someone stole her bag that had millions of dollars. Phil questions her about the thief. She says she was walking down the street when a guy came running from behind. He was wearing gloves and a face mask. He snatched the bag and ran away. She couldn't even see him. Phil asks, "How come you have scratches all over your face?" She replies that she tried to catch him, and he scratched her cheek with a golden ring. It was on his right hand. Phil immediately understands that her story is fake. Why? The lady mentioned that the thief was wearing gloves, so he couldn't scratch her with a golden ring. Phil arrives at his new office. His colleagues give him a big welcome cake. He leaves it in the office fridge to drink tea together during lunch hours. He opens the fridge again and sees that someone bit his cake. Phil questions for suspects. Bella says she's been at a business meeting all morning. She hasn't even entered the kitchen today. Sam entered the kitchen only 2 times to use the coffee machine, but he didn't open the fridge. And Hannah says she's on a sugar-free diet. Lily says she was at the dentist all morning, and she just got here. Who's lying? Sam. Take a look at the coffee machine. The sign says that it's broken. Therefore, his entire story is fake. Phil's client sends him 2 pictures of a creepy haunted house. Can you spot 7 differences between them? Here they are. Great job! The next day, Phil goes to check an abandoned castle. He gets trapped in a room with 3 doors through which he can escape, but each way hides some danger. There's a zombie behind the first door. Behind the second door, there's a hungry wolf, and a spooky ghost is waiting behind the third door. Which door should he choose? Ghosts tend to scare people, but they are not dangerous, so the third door is the safest option. Phil finds himself in a hallway. The door is closed and the lock appears to be quite complex. Luckily, Phil meets the local guardian ghost. He shows Phil 3 keys. One of them will certainly unlock the door. However, if Phil uses the wrong key, he'll stay trapped in this cursed castle forever. Can you help him choose the correct key? Only the second key fits perfectly. Now, Harriet here was a witch's apprentice. To complete her training and become an independent witch, she needed to pass the final spell exam. Her professor told her that all the information she needed to succeed was inside a haunted book at the library, so Harriet headed there to find it. Take a look around. Can you spot it? Sure, all the books look old and creepy. It's a magic library after all. But only this one's pages are flipping on their own. It must be the haunted one. As soon as Harriet touched the book, a furious ghost came out of its pages and yelled, "How dare you wake me up from my peaceful slumber? Answer me this, or I'll show you horrors that'll make you wish you were a ghost too. I dance on graves when no one is watching. My steps silent and my breath cold. What am I?" It's the fog. Benny and Jack were extreme sports enthusiasts. During spring break, they joined the Airbender Skydivers camp to learn how to skydive. It was finally their turn to try the simulation to test their instincts and readiness for real-life emergencies. Take a look at them inside the vertical wind tunnel and tell me who would survive if this was the real thing. Even though Benny is blindfolded, it would be he who would survive, because Jack here forgot to wear his parachute. Now Nathan was trying to break a record by sailing around the world in just a week. However, he got caught in a terrible storm. His boat couldn't fight the waves, and he found himself cast away on an unfamiliar island. When he opened his eyes, he was surrounded by the angry locals. They couldn't decide how to punish him for disturbing their peace, so they gave him 3 options. They could send him to a cave infested with tarantulas, throw him in a pit filled with venomous snakes, or feed him to the hungry tigers. Which should he choose? He should choose the tarantula cave because although it might be gross to feel their hairy legs on you, they are harmless to humans, most of the time. Zelda found herself trapped at the top of a wizard's tower. She discovered 3 ropes leading out of the window down to the ground. Which rope should she choose to escape? The first rope looks thick and sturdy, but see this sharp brick that it's wrapped around halfway down? That will likely cut it under Zelda's weight. On the other hand, if you take a closer look, you'll see that the second rope is no rope at all. It's a long snake. So that leaves her with the first rope. Just as Zelda was about to climb down the rope from the wizard's tower, a prince back on the ground yelled and told her to be quick, or else she would be caught by the wizard. How did he know? Take a look at this area on the tower. There's a gap where a brick should be, revealing an eye watching outside from within the tower. That must be the wizard. Jonas wanted to surprise his girlfriend on their first-year anniversary. So he booked a table at the new mystery-themed restaurant in town, known for its unique concept where guests weren't supposed to order but were served surprise dishes instead. After they were seated, 3 waiters approached their table. Each had a covered dish on their food cart, and Jonas and his girlfriend had to choose one. But Jonas thought one of the waiters looked suspicious. Who is it? The second waiter may have red stains all over his shirt, but he probably got them from a hot tomato sauce that is here on the second row of his food cart. The third waiter is not wearing regular waiter clothes like the other 2, but look at the dry cleaner's receipt peeking through his pocket. He just left them there. Do you see the weird green slime leaking through the first waiter's tray? Now that looks poisonous. Professor Benedict was teaching the architectural design class at the country's most prestigious university. Rumors had reached him that a student within the civil engineering department was cheating their way through exams without ever leaving a trace. He was determined to catch whoever it was on the first day of the final exam of his class. Take a look at all the students. Can you spot the cheater? You think it's this girl with the ponytail because she has a calculator on her desk, right? Wrong. See the note on the blackboard? It says calculators and rulers are allowed. But check out the ruler the Ronald Weasley-looking guy in the back is holding. It's not a regular one. It has the answers on it. Audrey and Henry were driving across the country for their friend's wedding. As night fell, they began to feel tired and decided to find a place to rest. When Audrey searched for hotels on her phone, she found that there was only one option with available rooms on their route. As they checked in, the hotel clerk informed them that there were 3 rooms available. Take a look at their options. Which room should they choose? The first room has a leak in one corner of the ceiling, which is an immediate deal breaker. And check out the wardrobe in the second room. One of its doors is slightly open, and through the gap, you can see eyes peeking out. Somebody's hiding in there and watching the room. Ew, creepy. So they should choose the third option. Max went deep-sea fishing, aiming for a big catch. Things were great until he hooked a huge monstrous fish that just wouldn't let go. During the struggle, he lost his balance, hit his head, and fell overboard. The current swept him to a deserted island where he found a boat, a raft, and a hot air balloon as potential escape options. Which one should he choose? The boat has a hole in this side, so it's definitely not seaworthy. The raft seems sturdy, but there are shark fins circling nearby. The hot air balloon, on the other hand, might be looking old, but it is filled and ready for takeoff. Cassandra and her friends went to the woods to have a picnic. However, after their meal, Cassandra fell asleep under the sun. When she woke up, she realized her friends had left her there, and they were all gone. She didn't know the woods that well, so she got lost trying to get back. All of a sudden, the path she took split up into 3 smaller roads. The first one led to a swamp with flesh-eating crocodiles. The second led to a bloodthirsty vampire's castle, and the third led to an active volcano. Which one should she take? She should pick the second path. Because take a look at the sky. The sun is still up and shining bright. So the vampire can't hurt her. After leaving the vampire's castle safely behind, Cassandra found herself in the dampest, darkest part of the woods. Suddenly, she spotted something strange. Can you see what that is? It's this teeny tiny bicycle standing next to mushrooms on the ground. As Cassandra took a closer look at it, she noticed that the mushrooms had even tinier doors and windows. When she yelled, "Hello!" a fairy greeted her and said, "I see you're a lost traveler. I'll magically teleport you if you answer my riddle. What has roots that nobody sees, is taller than trees, up it goes, yet it never grows?" The answer is a mountain. Now Simon got a call that he accepted to become a contestant on the new quiz show. So, you want to be rich? When it was his turn to compete, he made it to the final question, which was, how is it possible that a person's birthday is in January, but they celebrate it in the summer? Can you help him win the grand prize? It is possible that they live in the southern hemisphere, where January is one of the hottest months.
Mason is moving to a new town. On the way, he makes a stop at the local gas station. He wants to pay for gas and snacks, but his red leather wallet is missing. Mason interrogates 3 people standing nearby. Ashley says that she didn't touch Mason's stuff. Both of her hands were full of sandwiches. Lily says she was taking selfies for her social media. And the cashier, Xavier, said that he didn't notice any red wallets. Mason knows for sure who's the thief. What about you? Take a look at Ashley's sandwiches. She hid Mason's wallet between 2 pieces of bread. Mason exposes the thief and continues on his journey. He gets hungry and goes to a diner. But immediately, Mason feels something off about this place. Something's completely wrong with one of these 3 waiters. Which one? The lady on the left has wolf teeth, and she doesn't wear any badge on her uniform, so it makes sense to stay away from her. Mason arrives at the town late at night. He parks his car and looks around. Suddenly, Mason notices an unconscious lady on the ground. He calls the police and an ambulance. They arrive very quickly. Meanwhile, the lady comes to her senses, but she finds out that all her money is missing. The police have 3 suspects, Mason and 2 other pedestrians, Noah and Mike. Who's the thief? Take a look at the ground. There are 2 types of footsteps leading to the place where the lady is lying. One of them belongs to her, and the other one was left by Mason. There are 2 parallel straight lines left by a wheelchair. So the thief must be Mike. The next day, Mason meets his neighbors.
Hello.
It's an elderly couple, Ralph and Glenda. They have just finished building a fancy new house. The house looks beautiful, and they invite their 3 grandchildren over to have a look at their work. It takes 1 day for one guy and 2 girls to break several windows, knock down the fence, remove the decorations, and ruin the roof. But the retired couple doesn't mind. They just smile looking at the teenagers. Can you figure out why? The grandparents made a gingerbread house and invited their grandchildren to enjoy it. Dinner time. Mason enters a local restaurant. 2 tables are occupied, but this is not a regular boring restaurant. One of these families belongs to the mafia. Can you guess which one? Take a closer look at the second family. The daughter holds a teddy bear that's stuffed with dollars. Mason decides to go to another place instead. He takes a look at these 2 tables and spots the mafia family right away. What about you? It's the first family. The father has a red laser dot at the level of his heart. A sniper is aiming at him. Mason switches restaurants again. 2 tables are occupied by innocent-looking families. Yet again, one of these groups belongs to the mafia. Can you guess which one? Take a look at the second table. The father is hiding a gold bar in his menu.
Oh.
The next morning, Mason goes to check out the local pool. Can you spot an undercover cop among these people? This guy has a suspicious earphone in his ear. Why would he need it while swimming? Mason is terrible at packing. Today, he's going camping in the forest. Can you help him pack his stuff? Take a look at his bag and spot all the useless items. Oh, look! He has an electric hairdryer, but there's no electricity in the forest, so he can definitely leave it at home. Mason and his friend Bennett go hiking in the local forest. On the way, they meet 2 ladies, Anna and Alice. They hang out together, and both guys fall in love with Anna. They want to take her on a date. So the guys secretly ask Alice which of them Anna likes more. Alice doesn't want to share her bestie's secrets, but she gives the guys a hint. Anna loves pizza, but she can't stand burgers. She likes to go to the pool, but she never goes to the gym. Her favorite animal is the llama, but she's afraid of zebras. Which one of these guys does Anna like? Alice wanted to give the guys a clue, so we have to look for some patterns in her words. All the things Anna likes have double letters. Bennett has 2 double letters in his name, so he must be Anna's crush. The guys keep on hiking. Suddenly, they see a beautiful large apple tree growing on a cliff. If a powerful wind blows towards the land, where will the apples fall? In any case, they'll fall down. Alice needs to leave for the city, but Mason, Bennett, and Anna decide to spend the night in the wild. The next day, they wake up in a terrible trap. They're hanging upside down in the air with their legs tied. There's a bunch of venomous snakes on the ground under Mason. There's fire and hot coals under Anna, and dangerous scorpions are crawling under Bennett. How can the guys survive? Can you see that black cloud with lightning? It's gonna start raining soon. The rainwater will put out the fire under Anna. This lady has a knife, so she can cut the rope and then help the others.
Yes!
The guys escape, but they get lost in the forest. It gets dark. They're wandering around and come across a creepy cabin. It belongs to a witch. She says the guys must solve a riddle if they want to escape from her land. The witch writes a number. There are two special things about it. What are they? First, this number contains all existing digits. Second, they're put in alphabetical order.
Oh.
Mason and his friends return to the town. Meanwhile, someone robbed the local museum and stole the most valuable painting.
Oh no.
A detective investigates the crime scene and finds the thief right away. However, when asked to give it back, the criminal provides the police with 3 copies of the same painting. He refuses to tell which one is original. Can you find the real masterpiece? Each painting has a different frame, but only one of them is perfectly similar to the other frames hanging in the museum. And since this museum uses the same style of frames, this painting should be the original. Mason gets a new job in a small company. Only 4 people work with him. One day, Mason comes to the office and he doesn't find his favorite slippers. Mason always puts them on while working. He searches everywhere and finally spots them on the roof of the building. Mason is furious. He questions his coworkers. Bill says, "I don't even know where you keep your slippers." Phil says, "I'm terrified of heights. I have never climbed up there." Mara says, "I'm wearing high heels today. I can hardly walk in them." And Ella says, "I respect you too much to prank you, sir." One of them is lying. Who? It's Phil. He said he was afraid of heights, but take a look at the photo on his table. He's skydiving with a parachute. Liar. After work, Mason returns to his condo. He enters the elevator with 3 people. One of them is a police officer working undercover. Can you guess who? Take a look at this old lady's outfit. She has a tiny hidden video camera in her hat. Mason enters his apartment. Oh no! Someone broke the lock and stole his precious golden cup. Mason calls the police and they question 3 neighbors. George was painting his living room all day. He listened to loud music so he couldn't hear anything. Bella was walking with her boyfriend all day long. They've just returned home. And Aaron was sick, so he only went out once that day to take out his trash. He heard weird noises from Mason's apartment. Who's lying? George. His living room doesn't look freshly painted.
Here are 2 adorable couples in front of you, Jane and John and Mary and Jack. Both are cooking something yummy for dinner together. So cute. But hey, one of the ladies is in danger. Who is it? It's Mary. Look, even though it may seem that John is trying to poison Jane's coffee, it's not like that. He's just adding some sugar. But Jack has a knife in his back pocket. It was a regular Sunday morning and Kendall went shopping. While she was window shopping, a pickpocket ran up to her and stole a wallet from her purse. She called for help, and 3 police officers approached her, asking what had happened and how they could help. Can you help Kendall understand which of these 3 officers can be trusted? Look closely at the officers. One of them has the Apple logo on his uniform. Another one doesn't have a cap that would match the rest of his uniform. So here's the one Kendall can really trust. The other 2 must be the pickpocket's accomplices in disguise. At a local supermarket, employees started noticing that someone kept stealing their produce. However, they didn't spot any weird people at all, so it must have been one of their loyal customers. The store's security guard decided to re-watch the closed-circuit TV footage to find out who the thief was. Once he began watching the footage from the day before, he instantly spotted the culprit. Can you spot them too? Look, there are 3 customers in the footage, a woman, a teen, and an elderly lady. At the start, everything seems okay. But a couple of minutes later, the woman gets pregnant? Now, that's impossible. She's certainly hiding something she's stolen underneath her jumper. It was a friends' gathering. People were having fun, eating some scrumptious dishes that Susie, the host of the party, had cooked for them. The next day, in a group chat, Erica, Jacob's wife, texted that evening her husband had been rushed to the hospital, where he passed away a couple of hours later. The doctors said it was poisoning, and Erica rightly accused Susie of poisoning her husband. How did she do? Look at the image again and tell how Jacob was poisoned. Jacob was the only one having plain water that night. Look, everyone else was drinking tea and had no issues after the dinner. It means that the water in the jug was poisoned. Polly and Molly were walking down an avenue when they decided to sit in a cafe and have some iced lattes. No sooner had they sat down to enjoy their drinks than Polly whispered in Molly's ear, "We've got to run away from here fast. There's a man that escaped from prison next to us. It's dangerous to stay here." How did she know that? There were only 3 customers in the cafe. These 2 men looked totally okay, but this one is trying to hide handcuffs underneath his long sleeves. Annabelle, the world's greatest actress, woke up in a hospital. She couldn't remember anything but her name. She didn't know where she lived, where she worked, or even who she lived with. One thing she knew for sure was that she was married. There was a ring with a massive diamond on her ring finger. A couple of hours after her awakening, 2 men showed up in her room, Ryan and Jeff. Ryan was a young and good-looking man, and Jeff, well, let's say he was old enough to be her grandfather. Both of them claimed she was his wife. Who is the real husband? Well, sorry to break it to you, but Jeff is her real husband. Yeah, Ryan has a tattoo that says Annabelle, but it's Jeff who has a matching wedding ring. Ryan must be one of her fans who wants to take advantage of the situation. Eric and Hugh were heading to the class reunion party. It's been 10 years since they graduated, and both of them wanted to impress their high school love interest, Mary. They both knew Mary was a pretty materialistic girl, so they needed to show how rich both of them got. Maybe this way, she could finally notice one of them and even agree to go on a date. Here's the kicker though, only one of the guys actually got rich. The other just pretended to be wealthy. Can you guess who it is? Easy peasy. Eric is rich and Hugh is brokey broke. Yeah, Hugh arrived at the party driving a posh car, and he's wearing designer jewelry head to toe. As for Eric, he had to use public transport to get to the party. But take a closer look at the car. There are bank loan documents piled up on the back seat. Hugh probably just rented the car for the day. Meanwhile, Eric's wearing some luxury items. He probably just didn't want to waste time in traffic. Jason is a shop assistant in a department store. At the moment, there are 3 people in the fitting room who he's assisting. It's Jessica, the girl wearing a green dress, Sean, the man wearing a leather jacket and skinny jeans, and Alex, the man who's currently taking a larger pair of jeans that Jason has bought him. One of the clients is an alien. Jason has to figure out who it is. It's Alex. Take a closer look at his feet. Only a reptile or an alien can have such feet. Mary was walking in the woods and suddenly saw a really fancy castle. It was getting late, and she thought she might ask for a stay in that castle. It was a wicked troll's castle, and he really didn't like intruders. Mary was captured and locked up in a dark room with 2 guards. Still, the troll gave her a chance to break free. There were 2 doors in the room. One door led to freedom, and the other one was locked. The guards knew which door led to freedom. One of the guards always told the truth, the other always lied, and Mary didn't know who was who. She could ask one guard only one question. What question should she ask? Mary should say, "If I ask your colleague to show me the way to freedom, what door will it be?" No matter which guard replies, they will point at the locked door. The one that lies will point at the wrong door on purpose, and the one that tells the truth will do it since that's what the other one who lies would choose. This way, Mary can figure out the wrong door and choose the other one. Jane was on a hike in Africa when she decided to cross a bridge to admire the view. When she was in the middle of the bridge, she heard something moving behind her. She turned and saw a huge, hungry lion waiting for her. She turned to the other side. There were giant snakes. The water to her left was filled with hungry piranhas. Where should she go? She should jump into the lake. Piranhas don't live in lakes, especially in Africa. They live in South America. Look closer. Those are just some harmless fish. A man wakes up in a place he's never been to before. He rushes to the exit and sees 2 doors. When he opens the first door, he sees that the hall is made of magnifying glass. The scorching hot sun fries anyone who enters in no time. Behind the second door, a huge fire-breathing dragon is sleeping. But anyone who enters this hall risks waking it up immediately. How can the man escape safely? He needs to wait for dusk when there's no sun. Then he'll be able to get out of that place. Maria lives in Paris. Once in 2 weeks, she goes to Saint-Tropez to see her extravagant grandmother. This time, she bought a ticket in a machine, finished her coffee in a bar, and headed for the train. Strangely, this weekend, she didn't show up in Saint-Tropez. Why? She bought the wrong ticket. It says Saint-Tropez, Paris. But she needed Paris, Saint-Tropez. When she tried to get on the train, the conductor immediately noticed that her ticket was wrong, and she just didn't have enough time to change it. 3 wealthy businessmen complained to Detective Brooke. This week, an unknown criminal stole a car from each of them, and he left no traces. But Brooke figured out his pattern. She thinks the thief will soon commit new crimes. Mike, Colin, and Bill are at risk because they own very expensive cars. Whose car will the thief steal tonight? If you already know the answer, make sure to share it in the comments. Let's take a closer look at the order of the thefts. The colors of the cars match the colors of the rainbow: red, orange, and yellow. So Colin's green car will be the next target. Detective Brooke finds the criminal's garage and begins rummaging around. He has a secret door protected by a combination lock. There's a note with 4 images next to the door. Brooke thinks for a while, presses 4 numbers, and opens the door. What numbers did she press? If you nailed it right away, please let us know. The code is 2731. Each digit corresponds to the number of colors of the object in the picture. Brooke enters the secret room and sees 6 rings on the table. Try to memorize all the details, because you're going to need them later. Okay, now, can you find the rings that were not present in the original picture? Make sure to share your answer. Rings A, C, and F don't belong here. After a long day of work, Brooke is starving. She wants to grab something sweet, so she goes to the candy shop. Brooke has 3 options to choose from: cotton candy, a candy cane, or a candy apple. Which food is dangerous? Let us know in the comments. Take a closer look at the cotton candy. There's a tiny spider stuck inside. Yikes! As for the apple, it has a little worm inside. So Brooke should definitely buy the candy cane. Brooke is passing by the food court and spots 2 families. One of them is super rich, while the other one very broke. Can you guess who is who? Think carefully and feel free to leave your answer in the comment section below. Take a look at the second family. They don't eat this rotten food. The son is just taking pictures. Meanwhile, the first family shares 1 pizza and drinks water, which is usually free. And the mother's phone looks very outdated. Therefore, the super rich family is on the right. Brooke walks up to the diner and sees 6 different burgers in the window. Try to memorize them. You're going to need the details later. Now, let's take a look at the 9 images. Which of these burgers didn't appear in the initial picture? Give this video a thumbs up if you already know the answer. burgers B, D, and E are all new. The next day, Detective Brooke receives a new mysterious case. Someone attacked Larry, the HR manager of a large international company. It happened about an hour ago. Brooke finds 3 suspects. The first one is Lily. She's an applicant who was a bit angry with Larry because he made her wait for ages. Lily stayed outside in the rain and probably caught a cold, but she says she didn't attack him. Kyle, the company's marketing director, attended meetings from early morning until lunchtime, so he claims he didn't see Larry at all. Jeff from the IT department tells Brooke that he rode his bike to a coffee shop to get his cappuccino. He returned just now. Who's the attacker? Hurry up to be the first to comment. Jeff. Both his bike and his clothes are dry and clean. How is that possible if it's raining? Jeff runs away. Detective Brooke starts chasing him. She ends up in a dusty basement. There are 3 tunnels leading outside. The first one is guarded by an invisible monster. This creature attacks anyone who dares to enter. The second tunnel is half flooded with poisoned water. Drinking it is fatal for any human. And the third tunnel is infested with mutant cockroaches. They can fly and bite people. Which way is more or less safe? Give this video a thumbs up if you already know the answer. She should choose the second tunnel. The water's only dangerous if you drink it, so Brooke can just walk through the tunnel with her mouth closed and be safe. The next morning, Detective Brooke enjoys a day off at the beach. Suddenly, she hears a quarrel taking place nearby. This lady claims that someone has stolen her phone. Brooke spots the thief right away. Can you spot them? This blonde lady stole her phone. She's taking selfies with her own phone, but there's another one hidden in her swimsuit. Busted! Hit the like button if you manage to crack this riddle. Brooke spots 6 parrots on a tree and takes a picture. She visits the bathroom and then returns to the same tree. Can you find the parrots that were not present in her picture? Parrots A, E, and F arrived just now. Was it difficult? Let us know in the comments. Detective Brooke receives an emergency call from work. There's a dangerous visitor from another planet hanging out at the beach. It can look like a human, so Brooke should be very careful. Can you help her spot anything suspicious? Don't forget to share your thoughts. This volleyball player has too many arms for a regular human. Detective Brooke is working on her laptop in a coffee shop. Oops, it's time to visit the bathroom. Brooke decides it's safe enough to leave her stuff unattended. But after going to the bathroom, she finds out that her backpack and her laptop are missing. Brooke runs outside and sees 3 elderly ladies with picnic baskets sitting in the park. She interrogates them, but the ladies swear they didn't notice anything suspicious. Miss Anderson has just joined her friends. Miss Smith is eating her sandwich and reading a newspaper, and Miss Gold is taking pictures of squirrels. But still, Detective Brooke arrests one of the ladies. Can you guess who? Hurry up to be the first to comment. Brooke's backpack was red, remember? There's a red strap hanging out of Miss Anderson's picnic basket. Ooh, busted. Detective Brooke comes across a poster with 6 animals: a cat, a camel, a cheetah, a chicken, a crocodile, and a pig. Which animal doesn't belong here? The pig. It's the only animal whose name doesn't start with the letter C. But if you have a different answer, let us know. Brooke receives a call from her best friend, Amanda. She suspects that her boyfriend, Will, has a secret from her. Amanda wants to access his laptop to investigate, but she doesn't know his password. Luckily, there's a hint note right on his desk. It says Apple, Man, and Dawn. Give this video a thumbs up if you crack this code. And the password is Amanda. Yep, her name is the code. Aww. Will was just preparing a surprise for Amanda's birthday. He took her on a romantic helicopter trip. But unfortunately, their vehicle broke down in the air, and they had to land on a tiny uninhabited island. The guys can't call for help. Their cell phones and radio don't work. There are no trees on the island, only sand and rocks around them, so they can't make a smoke signal. Suddenly, Amanda notices a plane circling the sky, but unfortunately, it's flying too high and the pilot can't see them. Will comes up with a bright idea, and soon after, the plane picks them up. What did they do? Think carefully and share your ideas. They use rocks to spell out SOS on the sand. The plane takes Amanda and Will to the mainland, and now they need to take a bus to get home. Only one of these 4 buses will take them to their final destination. Can you guess which one? It's the second bus. Hit the like button if you nailed it. And if you want to train your thinking on a daily basis, don't forget to subscribe.
On an overnight train in Budapest, Mrs. Celine got robbed. She is a very wealthy heiress, and she inherited a diamond necklace from her great-grandmother, which was the exact piece of jewelry that was robbed. She called the inspector to solve the crime. After interviewing most of the passengers on board the train, the inspector narrowed it down to 3 suspects. Mr. Bruges was an eccentric widower, carrying a mysterious bag. Mr. Blue was one of the waiters on the train, carrying his metallic tray around. And Mr. Pearls was a hoarder, carrying lots of suitcases. Take a look at the images and give it your best shot at solving this crime. Mr. Bruges is just trying to keep his cat safe inside his mysterious bag. He's no criminal. Mr. Pearls is sweating like that because he's carrying all his valuable belongings, so he's really afraid to be robbed. This leaves us Mr. Blue, the true culprit. If you look attentively, he has a diamond necklace poking out from under his metallic tray. The airport police are having a lot of trouble these days. Many convicts escape prison and are trying to leave the country as fast as they can. Take a look at this image. You gotta figure out ASAP who is the fugitive. It's the lady on the right. Although the woman in the wanted poster is blonde, she must have dyed her hair brown to get through security. But her lips and freckles are exactly the same as in the picture. Tess, Ivy, and Monica are in a pretty bad financial rut. They walked into a local supermarket planning on stealing something. What they didn't know was that there was a police officer watching the cameras at the store. Can you figure out who just stole some chips? It was Tess, the First Lady. Sure, Ivy is sweating a lot, but she didn't take anything. But look at Tess's hair. She's hiding some chips in that ponytail. For this year's Super Bowl, Taylor decided to invite some friends over to her place. Her house was packed with some of her closest friends. But some random people also crashed the party. Out of nowhere, her friend Jackie screamed she saw a thief amongst them. Someone had stolen her golden bracelet. Take a look at the footage from the party. Sherlock, can you spot the thief? You sure have a good eye if you spot the thief in the middle of the crowd. He was really swift in sneaking behind that woman and stealing her bracelet. Way to go, you! John started his Sunday morning by jogging around the park near his house. When he returned, he found out very unpleasant news. Someone had stolen his car. He questioned 3 of his neighbors. Henry said he had been playing video games for the past 12 hours and hadn't left his basement during all that time. Rosie said she was a gardener and had been planting daisies in the public area all morning. She also said she saw a suspicious man who opened John's car using a knife. Jack said he had seen John's car when he went out for groceries, but when he returned home, it was gone. After listening to the suspects, John immediately knew who had done it. Can you tell who it was? It was Rosie. She said she'd been planting daisies, but look, there are only rose bushes in this area. Bernard is the owner of a meat shop downtown. He sells really expensive meat. As soon as he opened his shop, he had a rush of customers coming in to buy their daily meat. During the rush, he was so busy attending to the customers that he didn't see that someone stole the bacon. Who's the thief here? It's the guy in the suit. The dog is smelling his bag like there's some bacon inside it. He's definitely it. Jane was playing a video game when she was swallowed by the game. The next thing she knows, she's facing 3 mischievous robots. One of them stole her game controller, so she can't go back to her own reality. You gotta help Jane figure out which robot stole her controller. So far, you know that Robot A said, "B is the thief," and that the real thief always tells the truth. Can you solve this mystery with such little information? Robot C is the culprit. Let's check it out really quickly. If A was telling the truth, then it would be the thief. But it's impossible because A claims that B is the thief. B is also not the thief since A's claim that B is the thief is a lie. This just leaves us with the last option, Robot C. Betty was traveling across France. One night, she gave herself a treat by booking a table at an expensive restaurant. She was halfway through dinner when an elderly woman approached her. The woman said she looked a lot like her daughter and asked her for a favor. Since she hadn't spoken to her daughter for ages, she asked Betty to say, "Goodbye, Mother," as she left the restaurant. Betty thought it was super strange, but agreed. Soon after, she received the shock of her life. Guess what it was and share your 2 cents with us below. Betty was surprised with the bill which belonged to the elderly woman. She had asked the waiter to collect the bill from her daughter. Uh-oh, Betty. Can't believe you fell for that. Anna sat down to watch her favorite TV show. She made some popcorn, turned on the TV, and nestled comfortably to binge-watch an entire season. Her cat Pepper sat down next to her. But after 5 minutes of screen time, Anna suddenly passed out. Take a look at the image. Can you guess what happened there? Anna's cat, Pepper, got scared with a loud thump that came from the TV. It jumped on top of Anna and it scared the life out of her. That's why she passed out. The customer was saying that he had ordered soup, while the waiter was saying that he had only ordered tea. Henry saw something that immediately showed him who was lying. Prove to us that you've got the sharpest eye and find out what Henry saw. The customer is the one who's lying. Behind him, there's a huge sign that says the restaurant only serves soup from 1 to 4 p.m. Since it was 8 p.m. in the evening, the waiter would have never accepted the customer's order in the first place. It was a lovely spring morning, so Margaret decided to take her kids to the park for some fresh air. While the kids played in the grass, Margaret decided to catch up on her reading. She left her bag right beside her, next to a stranger. In a few minutes, she noticed the bag was stolen. We need your detective skills here. Can you figure out who the thief was? The person came out from the bush behind the bench where Margaret was seated. He was so quick it was nearly impossible to see him. Yikes! Robbie was invited to a typical college party. A lot of his friends were there, but there were also some random people. Out of nowhere, the lights went dark, and before he knew it, Robbie was waking up with a vampire bite on his neck. Take a look at some footage from the beginning of the party. Who's a vampire here? It's the guy on the corner. Look at the mirror.